The tree of life can be traced back to the ancient African Nile Valley culture up to a minimum of 5,000 years ago, and is mankind's oldest spiritual system that incorporates the ancient wisdoms, technologies, sciences, all of which Egypt is the mother of. The Greeks, many of the Greeks, Pythagoras, Plato, the most notable influences of Greek culture, actually studied in Egyptian mystery schools. And the Tree of Life is mankind's most ancient spiritual system of integration, or the archetypes or the spheres of the characters come from this tree, that is also found in many other cultures, such as the Norse, the Sumerian. The world myth of the cosmic tree is actually Kemetic in origin, and so is the Kabbalah, said to be given to the first man, Adam, in the Garden of Eden. The Tree of Life is a fundamental archetype in many of the world's mythologies, religious and philosophical traditions. It is closely related to the concept of the sacred tree. The Tree of Knowledge connecting to heaven and the underworld, and the Tree of Life connecting all forms of creation, are both forms of the world tree or cosmic tree, and are portrayed in various religions and philosophies as the same tree. Trees promote health and social well-being by removing air pollution, reducing stress, encouraging physical activities, and promoting social ties and community. The Kemetic Tree of Life can be dated back to ancient Kemet, well before ancient Egypt, and well before the Judeo-Christian influences and Hermetic influences such as the Greeks. Yggdrasil in Norse mythology is an immense and central sacred tree. Around it exists all else, including the 9 worlds. The Tree of Life originates from the Egyptian spiritual system of cultivation, from the oracles of Tahuti, or Thoth, or Enoch. Thoth is the Greek name for Tahuti. Enoch is the biblical patriarch of the pre-Diluvian era. Yggdrasil is an immense ash tree that is centered to the cosmos and considered very holy. The gods go to Yggdrasil daily to assemble at their traditional governing assemblies. The branches of Yggdrasil extend far into the heavens, and the tree is supported by 3 roots that extend far away into other locations, into wells and springs. Creatures live within the sacred tree, including the dragon, an eagle, and stags. The generally accepted meaning of Old Norse Yggdrasil is Odin's horse. Odin sacrificed himself by hanging from a tree, making the tree Odin's gallows. This tree may have been Yggdrasil. Gallows can be called the horse of the hanged, and therefore Odin's gallows may have developed into the expression Odin's horse, which then became the name of the tree. As the most revered amongst all Norse deities, Odin was known by many titles, including the All-Father, King of Asgard, and Patron of rulers. He is especially known for his desire for knowledge and willingness to do anything to gain it. There are many accounts of his many quests for wisdom and knowledge. Of these accounts, one talks about Odin hanging himself from the Tree of Life, the Tree of Yggdrasil. Lord of frenzy, leader of the possessed, Odin appears as a prominent god throughout the recorded history of Northern Europe. Wanting to acquire the knowledge and runes and the powers of the runes themselves and beyond it, Odin decided to prove his worthiness, so he struck himself with his own spear and hung from the sacred tree until he understood the runes and their meaning. In Norse mythology, Gungnir is the spear of the god Odin. Various trees of life are recounted in folklore, culture, and fiction, often relating to immortality or fertility. They had their origin in religious symbolism. The Tree of Life represents the different spheres of emanation of man's divine character, and therefore the spiritual anatomy of man. The Tree of Life is a diagram used in various mystical traditions. It usually consists of 12 nodes symbolizing different archetypes and 22 lines connecting the nodes. These nodes are often arranged into 3 columns to represent they belong to a common category. The nodes are usually represented as spheres, and the lines are represented as paths. The nodes represent encompassing aspects of existence, God, or the human psyche. The lines, the relationship between the concepts ascribed to the spheres, or a symbolic description of the requirements to go from one sphere to another. The nodes are also associated to deities, angels, celestial bodies, values, colors, or combinations of them, and specific numbers. The columns are usually symbolized as pillars. These pillars represent different kinds of values, electric charges, or types of ceremonial magic. It is referred to as the Kabbalistic tree of life. All roads lead to Africa and the original Kemetic sciences. Pythagoras travelled to Egypt in the 5th century BC, gaining ancient knowledge from the Egyptians for 22 years. The Greek philosopher believed that this knowledge contained the secrets to life and death. Plato studied in Egypt for 13 years under the Horite priest Xenopus. Many of the Greeks studied at Egyptian schools. All things originate from Egypt. All science or religion or spirituality, Egypt is the mother. They were not just gods, but principles taught by pictograms to a largely illiterate population. Language is elite. The pyramid texts were not illustrated. The public sphere is. Neteru, gods, mean powers or forces of God. The root of the system is man's divinity. Amen is the source. With Asar, Amen, the hidden one or invisible, is the most widely recorded. Amen grew in importance with Ra, Amun Ra, seen and unseen, intelligence pre-existing matter. Blue skin symbolized original creation, the earliest time in history, existing in form at the beginning. The color blue, the endless aspect of the cosmos, and original divine origin. Pa is being. Paut or Paut Neteru, nature, nature, tree of life, from the beginning. The Ba is the highest level of the God self, which is channeled into the Ka. The Ka is the conscious, and the Ba is the superconscious self. The Ba is already one with all and beyond evolution. The Ka lives vitality for truth. Maka Ma'at, living Ma'at. Know thyself is an Egyptian proverb adopted by the Greeks. The Neter is the supreme being. Neteru are the powers of the Neter, the nature. They are all part of one body. The term for God is Muntu, and the term for man is also Muntu. Man is born as sons of Ra, but exists eternally by Amen, conscious beyond creation. The Sahu is the incorruptible soul, the hidden one. Osar operates through the constellation Sa, Orion. He is called Asar Sa, his Sahu. The Sahu, the incorruptible soul, is stellar, not solar. It descends into the solar by day and ascends into the stellar by night. The Paut Neteru is mankind's oldest spiritual system and dates back to ancient Kemet, Egypt, as part of the ancient African Nile Valley culture, going back as far as 5000 BC and further to the origins of man. The Kabbalah was believed to be given to Adam in the Garden of Eden, the first man and the first tree of life. The tree of life is mankind's oldest spiritual heritage and wisdom, which integrates an understanding of the spiritually physical universe and the purpose of man. The tree of life originates in ancient Kemet as a product of the ancient Egyptian mystery system as recorded in the Paut Neteru, the oracle of Tahuti, on the Egyptian system of spiritual cultivation. The tree of life represents the emanations that shape all physical reality from atoms to galaxies, as well as describing the spheres which make up the spiritual anatomy of man. In order to distinguish it from other concepts with the same name, In the Jewish Kabbalah, the nodes are called Sephiroth. The diagram is also used by Christian Kabbalah, Kemetic Kabbalah, and Theosophy. The tree of life is believed to be derivable from the flower of life, which is the foundation of all sacred geometry, first found in the temple of Osar in Abydos, Egypt.